to Nicole K-Rod, who is another MLTI ambassador. Thank you, Nicole.
Hello. So the first thing I'm going to do is apologize for my voice. I'm just thankful that I have it because I did not have it on Friday. But my name is Nicole K-Rod, and I'm a second-year ambassador, which means I hop back into the classroom next year, and I'll go back at Mount Arrett Middle School as a science or math teacher, depending on where they put me. So today, I want to welcome you to our session that's called From Doubt to Discovery, a journey into the world of AI. And I'm going to share my screen. And then hit present. And hopefully you can see my slide. Awesome. So this presentation is mine, as well as it's a collaboration with ChatGPT and AI. So best practices around AI is that you share when you use it. So you'll see throughout that I used it as a thought partner, and then for some beautiful graphics, there's one on here that I used with Dolly. And if you don't know what that means, hopefully by the end of it, you will. The link bit.ly/WCCAI will get you this presentation and all the tools with it. So it might be something that you want. So let's talk about what we're going to be discussing today. So hopefully you'll leave knowing what is AI. You'll have a couple tools and uses in your pocket. We'll talk about AI literacy, and then also like starting the conversation around guidance at your school. So before we start, I want to kind of get in a checkup of like where your feelings are with AI. So are you a 1? Are you hesitant, unsure? Are you cautiously optimistic? Maybe you're neutral, open-minded, supportive, or maybe you are excited and innovative. So go ahead, Donna is going to pop up a poll. There it is. And then go ahead and pop in your answers. I always feel like I need a button with music. I know my people that have like heard me present before. I'm gonna make that button where it's like Jeopardy music or something. So I see a lot kind of around that 3 area, and then kind of above and below as well. So I'm happy that we don't have any 1s, although I like to say that even if you're at that 1 area, it does not matter where you are on this journey as long as you're on the journey, because it's going to be the future of our students. Hopefully, no matter where you are on this poll, you'll leave here today with something that will help you. Awesome. And then I'll share results. Hopefully you can see that, kind of see where everybody is. And then stop sharing, get rid of that. All right. So I do want to, before we dive into like what is AI, I want to start with this, which is the DOE kind of what we've put out right now for guidance around AI. And the idea is that it focuses on approaching technology as a tool and an asset to help support educators and students, with the idea that we want to be good stewards and centering the use of AI in digital citizenship and best practices. So really kind of thinking about all technology, right? And approaching AI the way that we do other things, and embedding that digital citizenship, because that's important. And then I also want to kind of take note today that I'm going to give you a lot of information and maybe some direction towards starting a guidance, but I also want to invite you to continue the conversation, and we can help out individual districts to do that. So let's start with what is AI? So I'm going to read the very first part at the top, but I won't read the rest of it. So it says AI stands for artificial intelligence. It refers to the simulation of human intelligence processed by machines, particularly computer systems. So the three things that are on the right of your screen, computer vision, robotics, expert systems, those are things that we've seen. They've been around for a while. So your computer vision is something like holding your phone up and having it recognize your face. It's self-driving cars, things like that. And then robotics, we've all heard of like Elon Musk's Optimus Prime robot that they're working on. So that's been around for a while. And then expert systems is when you go on, say, like a medical website, and it has a little bot in the corner that says, "Can I help you?" It's going to have a set of data, and it's even going to be able to tell you, like, "I'm sorry, I don't know the information for that." So it's trained on a set of data. Then we jump over to the other side of your screen where you see machine learning and natural language process. And this is where like all the buzz is coming. This is generative AI that kind of started in November of last year. We're almost a year out. And the idea is that it uses neural networks to process large amounts of data. It's generative, and we're going to talk about what that means in a moment. And then you also will hear kind of with this is large language models, which are your bots like ChatGPT, Raina, Claude. We'll talk about what that means too in a minute. So that is like in a nutshell. It's kind of very condensed, but what does that really mean? So when a machine can learn from data, what does that mean? So this is Teachable Machine. It's actually a Google tool, and it's super approachable for, I would say, 3rd through 12th graders. So you could use this in the classroom. It's not technically AI, but you're training a machine. So we're going to think about this set of data that we have up on the screen. On the left, I have a set of dogs. On the right, I have a set of cats. And I want you to kind of consider it as well and kind of take it all in, because in just a second, I'm going to pop up an animal on the screen and I'm going to ask you to identify it. All right. Before I do that, let's talk about what the machine is doing. The machine is taking each thing that we gave it and its label and kind of taking it in. Dog, 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 cat, cat, cat. So it knows just what it is. This is data that we've given it. We're training it. So what is this animal? So in the chat, or if you feel comfortable taking your microphone off, tell me what this is. And I'm hoping maybe Donna, you can read out the chat because I have nowhere clue where it is when I'm sharing my screen.
We have a dog.
All right.
Dog, dog, dog. Yep.
Excellent. And that's what I thought you were going to say, because we have a large set of data in our brains, right? Like we've watched cat videos, we've watched dog videos, we've been to the vet, we've been to the pound, we've been to all of these different places where we've collected this data. But our machine, this little guy right here, he only has the set of data that we gave him today. So he's going to call this a cat. Let's go ahead and look why that is. So if this is our original set of data, we look at all of our dogs on the left. Anybody notice something about the way that they are? So if you don't notice, they're all standing and our cats are all sitting. So if this is the only data that the machine has, a very small set, remember I said this is on the basic level, then when it sees this dog, it's going to say it's a cat because it's sitting. We would have to give it much more data in order for it to generate the correct answer. And like I said, that's very basic on the smallest level. Our tools like ChatGPT, they are trained on humongous sets of data. And according to ChatGPT, it was trained using approximately 570 gigabytes of text data. And if you're like me, I don't know what that means. So let me give you a comparison. It's about Wikipedia has 20 gigabytes of text data. So ChatGPT was trained on about 20 times more content than Wikipedia has. So that generative piece, it's going to use all of its data and then generate answers for us. So kind of with all of that, The other piece that we need to remember about when we're thinking about what is AI is that it's been around for a long time. So this graphic kind of shows different milestones all the way back to 1943 when people were writing papers about it and thinking about what is AI, all the way up to November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT came out, and all of a sudden we have this buzz. The other thing, remember, it's coming fast. And I love this quote because it reminds us that even though we're starting to think it's feeling impressive, a year from now, it's going to be that much more advanced. And then I think it's important to remember that even though this is coming fast and furious, we've been here before, maybe not with the same exact topic, but with something brand new that we don't quite understand.
Back to 56 past, I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard
Or
it.
around.
I'd never heard it
about.
said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard around or about in the lunchroom.
See, there it is. Violence at NBC. GE com. I mean,
well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network,
Mm-hmm.
the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate with. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What does
it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a computer billboard.
It's not an. It's a computer billboard, but it's
Right.
nationwide, and it's several universities and everything all joined together.
Right.
And others can access it.
Right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger all.
Just
It came
great.
in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating out to tell family and loved ones they were okay because all the phone lines were down.
I was telling Katie, and I
But you don't need that. You don't need a phone line to operate internet. No.
So I think that just gives us a little bit of perspective about, like, we have been here before.
Back to 56 past, I
Hopefully
wasn't.
I'm going to be able to go out of this. I'm going to have to do that. We're going to make that a little easier at some point. There we go. And kind of just like, what is this thing? And I think we're all doing that right now. I am just going to pause for just a second and ask if there are any questions. And that might be to come off chat, or it might be to type it in the, come off your microphone, or it might be to type it in the chat. Just want to take a breath of like, whew, what is AI? Because it's a lot. All right, then wait time is hard on Zoom, but at any time you can plug in questions and things like that. So now let's look at kind of tools and uses. So thinking about what does this thing really do? So thinking about that piece, and then how might my teachers be using it? How can I use it? All of that good stuff. Before I jump into the tool section, I always like to mention this part. I love this quote. I put it into every presentation that I have about AI. AI is going to give us the most precious, most valuable, most sought after resource for educators, which is time. AI is going to give us more time. And I love this because, I've had the fortune of doing presentations like this and watching educators plug something in and then go, oh, look at that, it's going to save me. I get to go spend time out in the schools with kids, or I get to do more in my classroom with this. And so this piece of time is so valuable, especially where we're all so stretched in our schools today. So with this AI piece and the development of ChatGPT, we have a new skill set, and that is prompt craft. And that's being able to prompt the AI to get the output that you want. And of course, the better that you put in, the better that you have out. So we're going to use Dan Fitzpatrick, Amanda Fox, and Brad Weinstein's acronym from the AI classroom, prep and edit, where you're really thinking about what you're putting in the machine and how you're putting it in the machine. And then, of course, once you've put it in the machine, having a collaboration with it. It's not a one and done, it's a tool. So if we don't like it, ask for more, changing it up so that we can get the best outcome that we want. So what does this look like? So when we're prompting it, we might put something like create a risk assessment for a class trip to the theater. It might be an academic quiz about cells. You could even go the personal route, give me a trip itinerary to Italy. You can put whatever you choose to into ChatGPT. You also want to give it a role. So that might be an expert in something, or it might be a specific person. So for me, I often put, I'm a science teacher, you're an expert in the NGSS science standards, or you are a kind, caring teacher. So it's a role. It might be that you're an expert in something like Atticus Finch, the character from To Kill a Mockingbird. Answer all the questions in the character of Atticus and use knowledge he would have. You can have more than one role. It's just going to better your output. Think then the last two steps are just really kind of honing in on what sort of output do you want. So make it more explicit. What do you want the task from the task? Do you want 5 questions? Do you want it to use Bloom's taxonomy? Do you want it to give a reason for things, respond in a table with 3 columns? And then, of course, the last part is even more breaking it down to parameters where you're being specific. Use short sentences, write this informal, caring tone, 100 words. Use age 11 or make it a reading level for age 11. Use ages in ChatGPT instead of grade levels because it's worldwide. And so age is going to get you better feedback. So you're going to plug this into ChatGPT and get an outcome. So the other piece with this, and we're going to do this in a second because it's like, oh, hold on, I want to see this, right? But I will finish up and then we're going to plug some stuff into ChatGPT. So the other piece is once you've put stuff in, you want to really think about keeping the human in the loop. And we need to actively be teaching this to both teachers and students so that way they know how to do this. It's not a one and done. We're not just popping in our essays and turning them in. It's a thought partner. It's something that we're using to help us be more collaborative and creative. So let's go ahead and do this together. So I'm going to go out of this. I'm hoping that you can see my ChatGPT screen. Yes? Excellent. Okay. So either in the chat or off your mutes, give me a role or give me a prompt that you would like the bot to do. Give me something that you would like. What do you need? It could be an administrative task. So you guys are all administrators. It could be a teacher task. And I'm even okay if like someone's got a trip to go somewhere and we want to put that in. So what do we have? It can be anything. That's what's amazing. I'm going to give you another minute and then I'm going to make it up.
Sometimes it's hard to imagine what it could do. I know the first few times I prompted, it was like, I'm not even sure what to have it ask it to do.
All right.
We do have one, Nicole. What is the weather for Wednesday, November 22nd, 2023?
Nice. So a couple things. One, we can plug in to ask questions. Absolutely. Something to remember about ChatGPT in particular is it's only to a certain time. So the free version, I believe, is all the way up to November 30th, 2022. And then the paid version is up till April 2023. So actually, let's see, November, that it would not do that for us today.
So I've used it for making a letter of introduction for myself to my new school boards or staff. I've used it for letters even letters of recommendation, actually.
I love it. So,
We have
and
another one too. Write me a letter to an upset parent whose child was hurt on the playground.
nice. Child was hurt on the playground. It actually sounds like the very first thing that I put into ChatGPT, which was write a email for a parent, for a student that cut someone else's hair. That one's fun. All right, so write me a letter to an upset parent whose child was hurt on the playground. So we want, what's our role? You are a kind and caring teacher, educator, okay? How long do you want it? Do we want a big long or do we want it a paragraph? Please keep it to a paragraph. And then we're gonna hit do it. Oh, come on. So here we have a template. And so it says, dear parent name, I'm writing, and I don't know if you guys can see this, so I'm reading out loud. I'm writing to express my deepest concern and sympathy regarding the incident that occurred with blank on the playground. Please know that the well-being and safety of our students are of utmost importance to me, and I am sincerely sorry that your child was hurt under my watch. I have taken immediately steps to review our safety protocols to ensure that such an incident does not happen again. I am available for a discussion of assistance you may need during this time, and I am committed to supporting blank's recovery and return to safe and joyful learning environment. Now, if you are like me, this does not sound like me. So I can do two things. I can take the bones of it, copy and paste, make it mine, or I can say to ChatGPT, can you make it less formal? Notice that as I was popping this out, it literally took less time for it to generate it than it did for me to read it. And it's going to do it again. It's going to give me a second iteration. It's a little less formal, but you can put whatever you need in here and it's going to pop out like great outcomes. On our presentation, so I'm going to come back over here. On this screen right here, I've actually given you kind of the prompting examples and prompting outputs. And then we'll go further to this slide, whereas here's a bunch of things that it can do. So curriculum maps, scales and learning, report cards, creating level texts, stations, things like that. So rubrics, Kahoots, it can do so much. And then on the left side here, I have like the different large language models. So ChatGPT is the one that we know and everybody talks about. But there's a lot more than that. There is Canva, which is magic, right? We'll talk about that one in a second because there are some student-friendly tools in that. Raina, which is Magic School. I'll tell you about Magic School in a second. And then Claude, Google Bard, ChatGPT, and Bing Chat. Those are all ones that you might hear. They all are just a tiny bit different, and some people have preferences over the other, but they do about the same thing. So the other piece too, so we've got all of the cool things that you can do with ChatGPT and large language models, but there's also this AI generated art. You can do that within ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's version of that is called DALL-E. There's another one called Midjourney. There's Scribble. There's tons of them. The one that I like to use because it's very educator friendly is Canva. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do some generated art together. So I'm in Canva right now, and what we're going to do is I'm going to come over all of the directions for what I'm doing right now is actually in this presentation, so you can kind of just watch. You don't have to follow along, and I do have step-by-step things. So we're going to go into apps. We're going to type in Magic Media. We've got this app right here, and then all of a sudden we've got kind of this piece of like, can I type in a prompt of something that I want? I do not have to be as descriptive as I was with ChatGPT. I'm going to do a fun one where we kind of create favorites. So I'm going to say create and then I'm going to say jump off chat and someone throw out an animal.
Lobster.
Lobster. I love it because you guys are way more creative than I could be. Create a lobster eating. What's somebody's favorite food? Favorite food?
pizza.
Pizza. That's the one everybody does. I love that. Create a lobster eating pizza. Doing. Someone give me something it's doing. A hobby. And we can change that verb if we need to.
What about just on a boat or riding in a boat or
Okay.
something?
On a boat. We can say at the lake. With somebody give me a favorite color.
Purple.
Purple. Sky. So then I'm going to hit generate. There are some other pieces. So there's like tools here of different styles, and I could click on those, but let's go ahead and see what it generates. This is where I said before, I need some music, like some fun little magic music, because that's what's Canva calls it magic. So kids have availability to this. And here I'll finish that thought. So here we go. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger so we can see them. There's the one, definitely got the purple sky, got in a boat. This one, I don't see a lobster in there.
I
This
think it's
one-
lobster pizza.
Maybe. Oh, that's sad. This guy has lots of tentacles or claws, I guess they are. And then here's this guy, which I think is also lobster pizza. So you've got some interesting images. If I don't like this, I can generate it again. There's lots of tools in Canva that I can edit these. One of the coolest use cases that I've seen of this is teachers having it generate figurative language, so like raining cats and dogs, and then the kids have to guess what the language is. It could be used also just to come up with, like, they're doing their writing and then they want to plug in some stuff. It's a lot of fun. There are a lot of tools with this. Here's all of the directions for that. So if you did want to play around in Canva, Canva's free for educators. And Canva has a lot of other magic tools. You can kind of see those here. You can see I even went from blue hair, nothing, to blue hair and glasses. So you can kind of do some fun things with that. Canva, I like because it has some guardrails up for kids. All these tools are not available for kids. They do have access to text to image right now. And then as a district, you can decide whether they have access to Magic, right, which is their version of ChatGPT. I would say it's a little tighter than ChatGPT. It's got some more guardrails on it because it is Canva, and Canva is very thoughtful about that. All right. Magic School is a teacher tool that if your teachers aren't using this, please share it with them. This has 60 plus tools in it. And that's the time that I checked it. They're always adding more. It was created by a high school principal and a bunch of educators that are committed to doing this. Basically, the idea is with Magic School, you click on one of these, it prompts you. So it'll say, what grades are you teaching? What are your standards? It'll ask you about the different tools. It has anything from like specific tools for subjects such as a lab creator, right? All the way down to IEP generator. It has a behavior one, math spiraling, text leveler tools. You can take a YouTube video and have it generate questions. There are so many tools on this. It's a nice, friendly way for educators to be introduced to AI. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of others that, I mean, I could give you lists and lists and lists. I try not to do that on the first presentation because it's just overwhelming. If I were telling someone to start, I would say, if you like, play around with ChatGPT. You do have to put your phone number in to sign up. So some people, that's like but Canva and Magic School are definitely a great entry points for this first piece of AI. And especially if you have teachers that are a little hesitant.
I will jump in, Nicole, real
yeah.
quick. Some people have heard out there that Magic School is going to be costing money. We were actually able to reach out to the founder himself, and he said the majority of it is going to be free. There'll just be a premium account at some point to help with his costs, but most of what you see will stay free.
That was perfect. I took a sip of my tea. All right, and then how can you guys do this? I mean, some of you guys threw out some ideas, but writing emails, quick letters of recommendations, developing interview questions, summarizing large articles, analyzing data, writing speeches for events. So there's a lot that you can do with this.
Did I hear you say that students don't have access to some of this, or they do?
So so it's my next section that we're going to talk about AI literacy. And there's a lot of things to think about that. So Canva is the tool that they've put up some guardrails. So Canva is free for educators and students. It's a beautiful tool. If your schools are not using Canva, please jump on that bandwagon because it's awesome, and we could help later on with some PD around that. But they have put up specific guardrails where the only thing that's available, the only thing that's available for students on Canva is text to image. And then for the Magic Write, which is the Chat GPT of Canva, they give the districts the decision, do you want them to have it or not? So it's in your hands versus Canvas, but all the other tools are just teacher. And then we'll talk a little bit about ChatGPT and who should be using that and all of that good stuff. Any other questions? Because this is a perfect time to pause to say, whew.
Just a quick follow-up to that same question. So are you saying that high school students couldn't access this to quickly type in give me a report on Abraham Lincoln, and they could have 30 seconds?
For Canva?
No, the chat, the first one that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. They have, I mean, if your school has not banned it, which I do not suggest because you can't keep up with it, right? We're going to talk about how to address that in a second. But then they have access. There's some age restrictions to it, so you have to be 18 or older, but we know how, that's not always the case with kids signing up for things. And then there's a 13 to 18 where you need parental consent. And I have some examples where a high school teacher is actually using it.
Okay.
Other questions, and then we'll kind of pop along. All right. So kind of the first thing when we're thinking about this, like AI literacy, let's rely on what we already know, right? Because I feel like we're always reinventing the wheel as teachers. So how can we use the things that are already out there? So I took the 21st century learning skills, ISTE's student standards and some computer standards, and kind of analyzed those a little bit. And kind of across the board, you see that these learning frameworks, can't talk, really they're equipping students with a blend of technical, cognitive, and social emotional skills that are crucial for not only navigating the challenges and opportunities right now, but also the future workspace. So I took all three of those and collaborated with ChatGPT and asked, all right, can you give me the commonalities? What is the same across the board here? And we have a teaching and learning for the AI ready student. So when teaching, we need to consider interdisciplinary approach, ethics and inclusive perspectives, workplace preparedness, thinking about adaptation and flexibility, as well as a holistic development. Learners should be digital citizens. They should be able to computationally think and problem solve. They should be creative, collaborative, and communicate well. So kind of breaking those things down of like, what as teachers do we need to make sure we're doing? And then as students, what do we want them to leave with? And hopefully the way approaching it this way doesn't feel like it's something brand new. Those 21st century skills, those technology skills we've been doing. How can we make that into the AI ready student? So then when we look at this, what does it look like in the classroom? We see students are learning about digital literacy and acting as good stewards of technology. They're using AI to code or analyze and dissect algorithms. AI will help them to be creative and communicate in collaborative environments. Educators will be weighing ethical implications and then helping their students navigate that as well. Students will be prepared for the future and have tools and curriculum that is personalized for their needs. And educators will consider the whole child and use and teach AI across the curriculum. That right now is a lot, right? It's like, holy smokes. that's okay. Take a breath. We're going to pause of where do we start? So we start with this graphic right here, which is put together by Matt Miller. And this starts the conversation, and we need to really rethink about what is plagiarism and what is cheating. And Matt Miller asks us to look at this on a scale of all bot created all the way to, student created. And where do we fit into that as far as what is cheating and what is plagiarism? So Kate Meyer is a high school student at MDI, and she starts with this graphic with her students. Her students agreed that all bot created, that's cheating. And then they agreed, of course, as we probably all do, that all student created is not cheating. And then somewhere in the middle there, where it's a collaboration with the machine, they agreed as a classroom that that could be allowed. And that was something that was going to be able to happen in her classroom. Matt Miller and Holly Clark have a podcast that's excellent, that kind of dives into this graphic in detail. Definitely check that out. It's really kind of thinking and switching the table. We've heard about all of this irresponsibility in the news. Like it's cheating. They're popping out essays. Let's talk about and model what responsible use of AI looks like. So then my friend Kate, she's discussed that Matt Miller graphic, and then she gives her students this, and she really shares what's ethical, what's unethical. And one of her students said, well, what happens if we try something out and it turns out to be plagiarism? Will you give us a chance to do it correctly without punishment? And her response, of course, we're all learning. And that's the way we should be approaching this with our students. We need to have a sense of curiosity and playfulness. Here's your question to this. So ChatGPT it's got age restrictions. So she's working with high school students. So she has sent this permission slip home. She got 100% back. You always need to be checking the permissions and policies of technology. And it doesn't matter whether it's AI or anything. So that's super important. There are some tools that can be used at a younger grade that are appropriate. I'm working right now on putting together kind of some of that so that we know what to use across the grade level. And as soon as I have that, I'll be glad to share it. But we're always checking, is this something we want to use with our students, and asking and analyzing that kind of ethical implication. And then, of course, throughout this whole process, Kate checked in with her students, asked for reflections. And this is my favorite part, because what's happening is these students are coming to the conclusion that it's a tool to use to their advantage, to empower them and to improve their individual process. She's continuing to do work with them. She's teaching them about prompting and use as a thought partner. And I'm always excited to get updates from her and see what she's doing in the classroom. It comes down to, with this, we need to empower our educators. This is a lot right now. I've been to different professional developments and things like that where I've led those or been a part of that, and teachers are stressed about this. It feels like one more thing in a world that's always one more thing. So it's important that we give them the guidance and the training to move forward. And then also, how can we make it not one more thing? How can we embed it in, as well as just give them the tools of things that they're already using that will work. And I will pause one more time for questions, because I know this is a lot. It's like, oh my gosh. Anybody else have questions? All right. Then I'm going to finish up with guidance and starting the conversation. And I say starting the conversation because this is going to go into your districts, and you're going to be having these conversations in your districts. So who needs to be a part of the conversation? It's important that whether you are doing having a steering group or steering committee in your district, or you're throwing out a survey or something, that you're getting the perspective and concerns of your educators. Get a feel for what what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And you're going to have the range. You're going to have, I've had all the way between like, I'm not using AI, forget it, to like, let's do this. Like, this is awesome. And all in between. You're going to have fear, you're going to have excitement, and all together. So make sure that getting their input is a part of your process. It's important. We also want to make sure that we put the students at the front of this conversation, thinking, what is it that they need? And then kind of backing up a little bit, and what is it that the teachers need in order to teach their students that? There is some great common sense literacy, common sense AI literacy lessons that are out there. This is a school from Georgia who's like jumped in, and they have a K-12 AI curriculum, which is amazing. So some resources there for you just to consider. Don't feel like I'm behind, or, oh, we got to just, like, as long as you're on the journey and you're having these conversations, it's okay. You also want to think about how you're framing the conversation. So right now, people, and it's starting to change a little bit, but we're coming from that place of risk and fear because we're hearing the news headlines of like, you know, kids are popping out essays and this is happening and that's happening. But let's change it up a little bit from how do we stop kids from cheating to how can we use AI tools to improve education, or even just saying, you know, what is cheating, and pushing those conversations forward. Thinking about will AI replace teachers? Thinking about how can we rethink education in an age of AI? I personally don't think that AI will replace teachers. However, those teachers who know how to use AI and use AI will replace the ones that don't. A lot of the time when we're coming from that place of fear and risk, these are the responses. Let's use AI detectors. Let's make sure all of our kids are doing paper pencil assessment. Please don't. The AI detectors, they're really proven to be unreliable. They are biased against non-native English speakers. I think the statistic was it marked over half of non-native English speakers as writing AI. And then students have access to these tools. And I think to kind of hone in on this point, the graphic on the right really gives you an idea of why they're unreliable. According to ChatGPT detector, 92% of the US Constitution was written by AI. We know that's not true. And then the other approach seems to be we're just right across the board, we're doing paper pencil. And I would, again, hesitate with this because we've worked so hard to get those accommodations and things like that. So kind of having those conversations about how do we approach assessment in a way that's going to remain equitable and accessible and culturally appropriate. A better response: creating a culture around sharing when AI is used and learning together, thinking about using it ethically, both for teachers and students, having a clear classroom guidance and policy, being transparent about using it, teaching students how to cite it, teaching students about how to make their assignments AI resistance. Highlight some of the many good teaching practices that are already happening, because some of this is already AI proof. We just need to say that's what it is. Teachers are going to need time to talk with one another, share examples and ideas, and discuss. We need to change our mindset from the idea of product versus process to process versus product. Is it that final essay that we're looking to have the kids pump out, or is it the critical thinking and the organization of your thoughts that go into the essay that we really want students to walk away with? Magic School, which I mentioned before, has a tool for AI resistant assignments, so that's a tool that can help. What goes into your guidance? So once you've developed this foundation of understanding of what is AI, and you've thought about the stakeholders and forward thinking, it's important to take a look at what discussions you're going to want to have, and what do you want to include in your guidance. The first thing I want to say is that word guidance versus policy. Policy is really hard to change and it takes a long time. I would go with the word guidance for now and create guidance around this, because AI is emergent, it's changing. that means that you can make the guidance change with it as well. And think about in your guidance, how are you going to give room for that, like risk and making mistakes? Because that's going to be a part of the process. We've got to think about ethical use, academic integrity, privacy and security, legal compliance. Do students have equitable access? A lot of tools right now are meant for students, are not meant for students under 13, or they need parental consent between 13 and 18, like ChatGPT. So we need to think about that. The other piece, and this is something that pass on, and you need to have conversations in your district about it. People are putting they want it as to grade their essays and things like that. So they have a stack of student essays and they're plugging them into ChatGPT. First of all, don't plug it into ChatGPT. That's a no-no, because you have to have consent. So if you have your students' consent, perfect. They have to be between, you have to have 13 to 18 parental consent. Above 18, you have to have the student's consent. So don't plug stuff into ChatGPT, just don't. And I know there's messages out there that say don't. The second thing, part of that conversation is there's tools that are COPA and FERPA compliant that are coming out where it is a grading tool, where it is like we're using it as feedback. So the conversations that you need to have at your district is thinking like, is there any ethical implications from that? Is it okay that we're putting work into this tool? And all those things that you do anyways to kind of check in on, technology use. This has a link here for like a sample guidance, which I always like is nice. You can also use ChatGPT to help you. So you could ask for a guidance template around K-12 and with all that prompting piece. You guys know all of these because you're administrators. You have to think about them probably on a daily basis. Teach AI, excellent resource that I'm going to talk about in a minute. They've kind of given you the AI perspective on each of these. So they all have links to the actual regulations, but then think about like for FERPA, you have to protect privacy and records and things like that. And what are you going to have to think about in the AI world? Teach AI. So this has, there's a presentation here that is like their toolkit. They encourage everybody to use this. I have some of their stuff within this presentation. There is step-by-step. It's just an excellent tool for you to use. So please feel free to check that out because that is there. You can also check in with us because we're glad to help out and provide some different professional development around things. This graphic shows like all the categories we cover, which I would say is just about anything. And then it just shows our team there as well. And I think maybe still we have some of those team members on our call as well. And then resources, because you need more stuff. This is, there's a lot of stuff with Common Sense Media here, some ISTE stuff. There's a conversation with some big districts here. I think Boston and I want to say Atlanta about having those conversations around the guidance they're putting out and things like that. A good, nice conversation, put it in the background as you're doing stuff just to kind of hear what they have to say. With different resources, they change because everything's changing. So I like to do people. So all of these are great resources either for your staff or for you. The one I would recommend the most is the AI Classroom. Actum and Meta in collaboration with us are doing a elevation summit where the author is coming and there is like a chance to kind of book study the book. So that's there. Click on that. There is a cost to it. If for some reason there's, a reason why you can't participate because of the cost, check in. We'll see how we can help. Maybe that's a possibility. And then a second set of great authors. And then this is us. So again, I'm Nicole K-Rod, and we're kind of the idea of if you want to continue this conversation, we want to have these conversations with your district and help you any way that we can. Whew. And it's 12:53, so I did okay. It's a lot of information. And I would be glad to have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen that you would like to.
I will turn the recording off at this point too.
Yeah, we can kind of have like an